I thought I'd take a look this time around at a medium term and shorter term view for the NASDAQ 100. You know, after something of a stellar year last year, market was up by more than 50% in 2023. As it's the beginning of the new year, relatively speaking, I thought let's take a look at the NASDAQ in a bit more detail, see what perhaps some of the obstacles might be this year, where I think it's going to go. I do have definite views on the short term, at least for the NASDAQ, considering what it's done over the last couple of months. But as usual in this video, I'll talk about some of the recent news, then we'll take a look at the charts, jump on the charts, and we'll see if there's a trade to be done. I do a few other things as well. If you watch my videos, I run a trading course, I run a WhatsApp group. You can find out more details about that by going to my website, davidjonestrading.co.uk. Every Friday on the channel, I do a live stream starting at 2:30 UK time, so just as US stock markets are open. If you're subscribed with the notifications thing pushed, you get a notification when that starts. So I'm going to do lots of different regular videos throughout the week on different markets as well as the live stream. So let's get into it and talk about the NASDAQ in a bit more detail. Always a popular market to trade, the NASDAQ 100 index. Plenty of volatility usually, and like I say, last year, fantastic performance by the NASDAQ. You know, we saw plenty of stock markets have a good year in 2023 after some substantial slides in 2022. The NASDAQ was no exception, up 53% over the last year. We saw fresh all-time highs towards the end of the year. So in December of 23, we saw the NASDAQ take out those November 2021 highs. It was quite interesting as the market was edging up to there. I wondered if we would see perhaps at least a bit of profit taking, a bit of caution coming in, but we've taken those highs out. We've had a bit of a weaker start to 2024, but we have seen the market bounce back since then. And I think it is interesting. I think in the summer of 2023, there was quite a lot of sort of bearish chat about the market, you know, whether it had gone too far, people waiting to short it. There was a lot of that sort of talk on the live streams, but another great reminder not to buck major trends, you know, and by the summer of last year, there was clearly, you know, a particularly clear trend in the NASDAQ, and we've seen that continue higher. So for me, it won't come as a surprise, you know, as a trend follower, I'm expecting further gains. So for me, my approach is very much to continue to buy the dips, and we'll take a look at some of the levels to watch when we take a look at the charts. When it comes to forecasts for stock markets this year, it's a time of year when plenty of banks and investment companies come out with their forecast for the year. To be honest, I think most can be taken with a pinch of salt, because we never know, do we, what's going to happen really over the next 12 months. You know, what we think are the major issues today, you know, could well change in a few months' time. But to pick a couple, a bullish and a bearish argument, let's start off with the bearish argument first of all. JP Morgan says that is bearish on stocks for this year, is expecting slight weakness, and the company says it sees a challenging background for stocks this year, so they're bearish. If we flip to a bullish view, Bank of America expecting higher stock markets this year, saying that companies have adapted to this environment that we're in of higher interest rates and higher inflation. Although, of course, we have seen inflation ease a lot over the last, 6 to 8 months, and the expectations are for at least some rate cuts to come in this year. So, you know, there are companies out there, banks out there. Some are bearish, some are bullish. As usual for me, I just trade what's in front of me. So from a more medium term and short term look at this market, let's jump on the charts. So here's a quick reminder of what went on with the NASDAQ 100 over the last couple of years or so. So we had the run off the COVID lows, if we take it back that far actually. So the COVID lows, March 2020, we're in around about 7,000, just below it on the NASDAQ. Then, of course, we saw plenty of stock markets had a great run into November 21 for the NASDAQ, up around about 16,700. Then the sell-off on concerns about inflation into 22. October 22, we saw the NASDAQ base out 10.5 to 11,000. And then for much of last year, if we zoom things in, we saw the market go from those lows to end the year just shy of 17,000. We've seen this market under pressure, under a bit of pressure coming into this year, but overall, the trend is still up. Let's do that first of all. Let's pick up on this trend for the NASDAQ. So if we pick it up on the lows from 2023, it's not a textbook trend line. We've only got a couple of touches on the trend. We had that period in the summer. So July, the market traded as high as 16,000, then sold off to 14,000. So we saw, a reasonable decline into October. But then we've seen the bounce back. We had that quite incredible turnaround from late October into November, where the market gained a couple of thousand points. And then, of course, went on to push higher during December. So the reasons that I think I'm expecting further gains, at least in the short term, well, the trend is still up for a start. So as much as people might think, well, this market is overvalued, there are plenty of times we could have said that all the way up. And I think quite a few people perhaps got wrong-footed by the strength in this market last year. Plus, it's taken out the previous all-time highs. And if you've done any work on charting, price action, that sort of thing, you'll know that breakouts tend to be considered as bullish, breakouts to the upside. But of course, there are always such things as false breakouts. But for me, in the short term, the target is for a run back to those December highs, which are on my chart 4 points short of 17,000, so not a million miles away from where we are now. And if we break through that, then I'd expect the momentum to continue and even more buying. Perhaps people who feel they're going to be missing out on further gains in this market. So for me, it's still a buy. If I was looking at it on the daily chart, some levels to watch. If we got a deeper sell-off back to those December lows, just below 15,700, I think that's an interesting area to think about being a buyer. If we saw the market drop towards 16,000, for example, if we did see this market under pressure, I think it's an interesting market to think about buying with stops the other side of those lows. That trend line, which isn't really a trend line yet, is coming in around about the 15,000 mark. So even if the market drops 10% from where we are now, and this is, a volatile market, it'd still be a buy for me. The trend is still up. So I think it's only if we start threatening that 15,000 level, does it look like the NASDAQ could have something of a trickier year. So overall, still positive. Let's take a look at the RSI for the short term. So here we've got 10-day RSI on this chart. So we did have a bit of bearish divergence at the top for fans of that sort of thing, where the market pushes to a high and pushes higher still. The RSI made lower highs there, so that was a warning that perhaps the market was running out of steam. We haven't gone oversold on this sell-off this time round. The last oversold signal we had on the NASDAQ was back in late October, when we did have the market bottom out, and then we had that rally, that fairly impressive rally. So overall, there's not too much to say from me apart from the trend in this market at the moment. So let's have a think about a trade here. Let's flip things over to a shorter term point of view. So we're looking at the hourly charts here. This is the end of December up here. This is the 28th of December, when the market got close to 17,000. Then we saw, an 800-point drop into the 5th of Jan when the payrolls came out. We have seen this market and other markets like the S&P 500 turn around after the payrolls. And we've seen, a pretty strong rally. We've seen, what is it, a 500-point rally off those lows over the last few days. So for me, I'd like to be a buyer, but I'd like to buy a dip. If we're thinking about, is there a new short-term trend starting on the NASDAQ? Let's take a look at that. Again, it's only early days, so I'd be a little bit cautious. I'm recording this on Wednesday ahead of the market open. So the market hasn't opened yet. It has pushed a bit higher than yesterday's close. So what I'd like to do, I'd like to be a buyer, but I want to buy a dip. So I can sit here and watch it. But when I do these videos, I always like to put a trade in or put an order in. So let's do that. Let's put an order in. So the order I'm going to put in, if I think this market is going to push quite a bit higher than here, I want to have a fairly wide stop to begin with. It's a volatile market. If we take a look at Monday, the market traded as low as 16,235 and traded as low as 16,660. So the market moved more than 400 points in one day. So if I'm trading something at the NASDAQ, I need to have a fairly wide stop. What I'm going to do, I would like to buy if we get a dip down towards 16.5, so back towards the lows from Tuesday. So I'm going to put an order in to buy at 16.5. And because I think it might be the start of a bigger move, I want to have a wide stop. So I'm going to go beyond the lows from Friday. This is less than a week ago. Don't forget, the lows from Friday was 16,180. So I'm a buyer at 16.5. Let's say I'm going to put a stop in at 16,125. Let's set that order up. So this is the broker I trade with. Here's the market. We're out of hours at the moment. You know, one of the reasons I trade with this broker is the simplicity and the tight spreads. You know, when I look at charts, I look at them on TradingView, and for a trading platform, I just want a nice, easy to use platform that gives me a low cost of trading. So that's why I trade with these guys. I do lots of webinars with them as well. We'll be doing many more during 2024. If you'd like to open an account and take part in those webinars, the link is in the description to this video, and you can go through and open up an account, and you get invited to the webinars run by me. But what we want to do is open up an order for the NASDAQ. So let's click on order and bring it up. So the market at the moment is trading at 16,720. I would like to buy 16,500 is where I'm going to buy. So I've put that in. So I want to buy 200 or so points lower than where we are now. So if you get a sell-off, I want to be a buyer. What I want to do is put my order in. So I'm going to go 16,125 is where I said. So if I trade, the size I'm trading here is 1. I can trade fractional amounts as well if I want to. So if I trade 0.1, I can trade really small, which again I think is another benefit of trading with this broker. If you don't have a large account but you want to practice sensible risk management, which you should, you can trade fractional amounts. But for now, let me just trade 1. So I'm going to trade 1. If the market drops to 16,500, my stop is 375 points away. Some people might think that's a lot, but as I said the other day, we saw the market trade in a 400-point range. My risk on this trade is £375 if I'm wrong. So that's it. So I'm gonna put the order in, and it can just sit there. There's the confirmation. So buying 1 at 16,500 with a stop at 16,125. And if I look in the opening orders on my trading platform, that's where it is. And if I want to amend the order or remove it, really straightforward. So that's it. That's my trading idea for this on the NASDAQ. I want to try and buy a pullback. The risk is, of course, if the market runs away from me, I'm not going to get filled on this trade. But let's see what happens over the next couple of days. But definitely over the last few days, you know, we are seeing this market building a recovery from that sell-off that started at the end of December. So I think it is interesting in the short term. I'd rather buy a dip here, but medium term, coming into this year, you know, I think this is a market that still has momentum. Even if we saw a dip down towards 16,000, it still looks like a buying opportunity for me. As usual, we'll take a look at it in the regular Friday live streams. But let's see how that order works out in the short term. That's it from me for this one, for the NASDAQ. Really interesting market. Lots of volatility, even in the first week or so of 2024. I think it's going to be an interesting year. I'm not expecting the same sort of gains we saw last year, but coming into 2024, for me, it's a market that's still positive. Like I say, to find out about the broker I use, there's a link down there in the description to the video. Go to the website to find out more about the trading course and the WhatsApp group I run. But for now, we'll leave things there. So until the next time, good luck with your trading.